Why the VBS bank heist scandal is bad for all black people. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for being a part of the family. We keep growing. We're on 100,000 subscribers now. I'll put a link of my podcast at the bottom, and I'm still just recording from my phone. And I'm encouraging you to start your own YouTube channel, start your own podcast, start your own recording of videos, of sharing of content, especially content that is building, inspiring, encouraging, positive, that gets to impact other children's lives out there. Anyway, I'm an entrepreneur, we're in business, and the energy in the country or the world over, even in the African diaspora, is black people need to do for themselves. We need to do for ourselves, build for ourselves. We need to unite. We need to become one. We need to own our own means of production, our own manufacturing companies, our own land. We need to be building our own estates, our own real estate, our own private real estate, commercial real estate, residential real estate, our own insurance companies. We need to be doing for self. If you look at I think for me right now, I stand to be corrected. The wholly black-owned industry is the taxi industry. Imagine if these guys could all come together and start negotiating deals with the likes of Abu Tata overseas in Asia, Abu Toyota, Abu Hyundai, Abu Haval, and come up with their own joint venture partnership. They'll negotiate how much of it they will own to come up with their own fleet of cars, their own kumbis, taxis, so much so that when they've got enough muscle, they can bring that entire production. Actually, even right now, they can negotiate with those companies to partner with them to opening up manufacturing plants here at home. Why not? There's a lot of other German brands or overseas car company brands that are assembled in South Africa, although they're not South African, but they are assembled by South Africans. Yini engasixhula ukuthi sibe nemoto yethu esiyakha khona la ekhaya. And the best way to do it is if you partner with people who've been doing it for many years, who've been benefiting off of your industry. Imagine if all of these taxi associations all over the country, they become one, and they start negotiating such deals. About a decade ago, a little bit longer, we were all excited because there was talk of Santaco, of our own black-owned airline from the taxi industry. And that was quite exciting. We don't know what happened to that. We don't know what's happened. What happened to a lot of companies like Abo. Rest in peace to the late great Dr. Mahanyele, Professor Mahanyele. May so rest in peace. One of our pioneers in business in South Africa. The likes of Abo, Dr. Ntato Motlana, guys who were in the forefront after 1994 in black business in South Africa. People who have led Abonaf Cork, people who have led black organizations, black businesses, from organizations like Abo Black Management Forum and all the other black organizations out there that represent business people, entrepreneurs. The language out there should be in unison. It should be one language, that we need to participate in big business. Kodamanje, my sister, I'm so proud of her. I remember we used to do a lot of Sibusiso Education Foundation work at schools in Ekurhuleni. And we used to do a lot of work together. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. She champions the first majority black-owned mutual bank. The Prudential Authority has given notice that Young Women in Business Network, YWBN Mutual Bank, is now registered as a mutual bank in the country. This is an article from a biz community. And you can actually just Google her. Ntabeleng Dikoti. Dikoti spelled with an L. You'll be so impressed. And you remember a lot of flack if you live in South Africa and you've been on Twitter for quite some time. At some point, she got a lot of flack online. And you don't know where that energy comes from. Sometimes it might be our own people who are jealous of one another, will pull each other down, even when we could be positively, constructively criticizing us. But we don't do that. We pull each other down. We negatively criticize ourselves, as if like we don't feel we are capable of doing great things ourselves. And we are. If you look at the insurance industry, if you look at the health or medical industry, you look at the manufacturing space, you look at all these different brands, you look at most industries, very, very small percentages we participate as black ownership. So it doesn't help to have VBS bank heists making headlines every day. Because then what it does, another thing, it just keeps on saying we are celebrating black failure. You could hear the languaging was correct in the sense that when I read and I follow the story and the affidavit of Mr. Matodzi and following all these interviews since about 5 years ago, you'd hear they were already conversing with the Reserve Bank. So they had already had an open communication that was happening. But sadly, we find out that communication was used for selfish and bad reasons. But the fact that you already had that door to transfer or to convert the bank from a mutual bank to it being a commercial bank, you were already on the right line. You were already on the right path. You were already pioneering for all of us. Because remember, whatever you were doing then, you were not doing for just yourselves. You were doing for us as well. For us to be able to see somebody or people that look like us doing it. And these are professionals. When you also follow the career or a bit of a history of Mr. Matodzi, you see that this was a chartered accountant. He was a black professional. He was very knowledgeable about a lot of things because no layman in the street who's an idiot would be able to pull off such a heist. And I guess that's why they call him the mastermind. Go check out a video that Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh did on this VBS bank scandal. I think he dropped it yesterday, if not 2 days ago. Incredible, incredible insight. Where he talks about from back in the day, the history of our ancestors and the land, especially in Limpopo, and how people had to mobilize themselves and come together and put their monies together and sort of, I don't want to paraphrase him wrong, and because I'm not as good as he is in articulating myself, I suggest I'll put the link in the description. Click the link, go check out that video. You'd be extremely impressed in understanding the history of how VBS Bank started and Mr. Matodzi's involvement, how he came into it and how he was able to buy a larger stake from just, I think it was 3 to about 5% that he owned initially. And I think at some point the board or the shareholders had to kick him out. He found a way to get himself back in, and he found a way to actually purchase more shares to end up owning half of the bank, with a balance sheet that was used from Vele purchasing a larger stake at VBS through monies that he was already siphoning and embezzling from VBS to Vele. Some accounts and statements basically kade bazenzela balaphana ngaphakathi ba operator le system abumatodzi, instead of operating it in goodwill, operating it for our people, operating to change generations, operating to help poverty-stricken young black women and men in Limpopo and the elderly community, operating to think of future generations of black young kids. Sadly, it was done out of selfish reasons, because if the vision was right, if the purpose was right, imagine how far they could be today. Now, it is bad for all of us because it's like, niyabona, ngithi niyababona. Ukuthi nasibaliphethe ithuba olokuthi benze ushintsho, banazi ingqondo, bayile ezikolweni, bayiphethe experience, bakhona nokumobilize nokuvula ama relationship ku government, then in turn money comes into play. And the love of money has always been the root of all evil, because those selfish reasons kick in. You even forget whose monies are in these banks. You were able to mobilize politicians to end up getting municipality monies banked with you. You're already sitting down with the South African Reserve Bank talking about converting the bank from a mutual bank to being a commercial bank. You're already so far ahead with all of those brains, those connections, and those minds and expertise. Imagine how far VBS would be right now if we did it right. Imagine all the other black-owned micro insurance companies that are out there in the insurance or financial services sector space that are trying to convert their licenses from being micro lender, or what is it, micro insurers, to getting like proper insurance licenses. It's not an easy play there. To get into that space, you need to have big bucks. Because you need to remember, for you to move on to being your own underwriter, you need to be able to have a big bag so that the Reserve Bank trusts you with being able to pay your claims. Everybody who's made a lot of money in the insurance industry, they started from scratch. Some of them started out as agents. Some of them started out as brokers, as JRs. And then some of them started their own JR companies. Some of them control call centers. There's a big ecosystem around that insurance space. But some of them have done so well to grow themselves to opening up their own micro insurance companies. And just in that financial services sector, not only in insurance, but even in micro lending and just in that space, in that financial space, there's a lot of black guys that are doing really well. But when one negative big story that gets drummed into us through the media and the headlines, not for 1 year, 2, 3 years, not for 4, 5 years, not for repeatedly non-stop, what are they doing? They're brainwashing you to actually even end up believing you. Are we actually even capable of building great things ourselves? And yes, we are. But it's stories like these, and it's brothers and African brothers and sisters like these that get to set us 1,000 steps back. Do you know when even people complain about 1994, where the country was and where it could have been right now, with all of the progress that has been done, but also with a lot of the non-service delivery that hasn't happened in a while, with the SOEs collapsing, with the corruption matters, it disappoints us that we could have been further than where we are right now. But what message is that sending to the outside world? How many videos have you watched of sitelelwa ingama zakuboma Europe nasema America zikhuluma sengathi African leaders are not capable of leading themselves? African liberation organizations are not capable of taking us to where we're supposed to go to. And sizozidefenda nakanjani? Uke wabona kufana njengokuthi ube i-Kaizer Chiefs supporter. I'm a Pirates supporter, but it's sad that a lot of my friends who are Kaizer Chiefs supporters has gotten to a point where it's even difficult to defend the team. So how do you defend our political leaders, our political parties, from Western imperialists who keep on speaking negatively and bad about us not being able to govern ourselves, to manage ourselves, to grow ourselves, to take ourselves to the promised land? Siyinhlekisa kubo. So nawubona izitori njengalezi ungahleki. Be concerned, hold them accountable, because bantu abaningi abadala baluza imali yabo. But at the same time, never feel good or proud in any way and be excited that other leaders are being crucified. Here's such and such, throw names. Yes, you are allowed to be angry, to hold them accountable, for them to pay back that money, and for them to, if they did the crime, if they get prosecuted, whichever political party they belong to, whichever organization or business they belong to, whoever they are, if they did that to a poor old community in Limpopo, they deserve to pay the price. But at the same time, don't be blinded by thinking, Uguti, what's happening right now is something for you to celebrate. It's a sad era. It's been very, very sad. It's painful when you read those stories, because it keeps on perpetuating that narrative. Yokuthi asikhona ukuzenzela, arikhona ukuyiketsetsa. I remember when I started my energy drink company with my business partner, everywhere we went to, we were told about how other companies tried to launch, other energy drink companies tried to launch in South Africa and they failed. And do you know how many people were saying that to us? And who was saying that to us? Well, our own black brothers and sisters. Some of them who are even in positions of being head buyers in all these different big retail chain giants in South Africa. Some of them turned us down for many years. We've had to prove ourselves consistently for a decade. Only now that our brand is like seeing some sort of speedily growth and growing even in our distribution. And by the way, we've just signed up clicks this week with the team. Congratulations to the team at Mpofu at the office. We've been looking for clicks for many years. It's finally in the bag. So congratulations to the team at Mpofu, and thank you to the clicks leadership for finally doing that deal with us. Imagine, we're celebrating only getting into clicks almost 11 years later since our business started. We've got a long way to go, my brothers and sisters. Bantwana basekhaya, we've got a long way to go. When there's still such stories, our leaders, our elders, Abu Baba and Abu Mama, whom we rely on as our political leaders from all these political parties, when we get to find out what badlimali, I know what badlimali am now, badlimali abokoko, yabantu abadala, abantu abanganalutho. We say people must save, we say people must invest, but then we in turn take their money and then we loot it. And then we splash it all over social media. Being disrespectful to our poor. It's sad. As Professor J.J. Tabada would say, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad, guys. It's not good for us. What does it say about black leadership? What does it say about black potential? Because these are professionals that we're talking about. These are not just some ordinary criminals. These are sophisticated criminals. When you're able to do that, what these guys have done, that's a Hollywood movie, bruh. That's a Hollywood blockbuster. Sadly, at the expense of the tears of the elderly. It's like seeing criminals that you grow up with a kaslako. How babona ka mokgo ba hlalefileng ka teng? How babona ka mokgo ba kgonang ho bua ka teng? How babona ka mokgo ba kgonang ho apara ka teng? Mara they waste all that intelligence on the wrong and negative energy of committing crime instead of using that amazing prowess, you know, that shyingness, that posture, that movement, that coolness, that smart, that street smart mentality, focusing it on positive things. Imagine how great they could become. Imagine how many great other successful people we could have had in this country if a lot of all of those criminals that are now rotting in jail, some of them are in prison, some of them have passed on, if only they could have focused their streetwise smartness and mentality into positive things. It's the same thing with these guys. There's nothing different from Abubakar Matodzi. Somebody who's a vetsy, somebody who graduated from vets, somebody who's a professional who was able to work with a professional team, and somebody who was able to not only get himself fired or out of that organization, but back in and create his own investment company with other partners and find a way to buy a majority. I don't know if it was a majority shareholder stand, to be corrected. Check it out on that video of Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, but who was able to get himself, I think 50%, if not a little bit more, shareholdership with Vele owning a bit of VBS. Imagine if they could have turned that into a positive thing. Owning a black bank, being able to turn that mutual license into a commercial license. Imagine the great things they could have done for the community of the Limpopo towns, the Limpopo communities and villages there. There's a lot of booming infrastructure development that is happening in Limpopo. But imagine if a bank like VBS Bank were to be involved in speeding up that development, that infrastructure development, that real estate development, commercial real estate, residential real estate, and all the other projects. You know, you look in the KZN at banks like HEIST. HEIST Bank are killing it in the KZN, and they've been consistent over the years. And they're doing a great job in empowering black-owned businesses and in being friendly to entrepreneurs and businesses that are owned by black people. They could have played that role even in a bigger way, because not only will they be doing that, they would have been also inspiring other people like us who are big dreamers, who are entrepreneurs, who are business-minded, you know? And even our new generation of young hustlers, young professionals, young talented bright minds, young dreamers, young pioneers. Imagine when they start seeing Abu Sis Ntabeleng, when they start seeing if Abu VBS were channeled correctly and be doing all of that work in passion and doing it for the Lord and doing it to empower the community of Limpopo and grow, just like what iThala has done over the past 20 years in KZN. They could be doing more, I know that, but you have to congratulate such companies because nobody speaks about them. Sizwe Medical was a black-owned medical aid company, or correct me if I'm wrong of what it's called, but in the medicine space or medical space, was started by, is it 29 or 39 black doctors? Back in the day, I think it was late 70s or early 80s. Sizwe Medical Aid. Still alive till today. About Dr. Richard Maponya, the late great, may so rest in peace. His legacy lives on. Those are good examples of black business leaders that have started things. About Dr. Motlana, as I was saying a little bit earlier on. About Dr. Mahanyel, about Professor Mahanyel. So don't be scared or discouraged by other people who scare you about failure. And don't be scared of failure. Rather try and fail rather than not to try at all. But also don't fall into this trap of thinking we are not good enough. When you read such stories that get to be repeatedly made headlines online, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And you end up, thinking we are not capable enough. And I refuse. I believe we are capable, but we gotta do better. We have to do better, my brothers and sisters. When we get into leadership, let's not get power drunk. Power can get you drunk. And let's not be excited over shiny things. Mr. Matodzi embezzled over 300 million rands in 7 years, bro. That's generational wealth. For the next 100 generations. For the next 1,000 years in your family bloodline. 300 million. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, man. We gotta do better. Let's do better. Let us all do better. Remember, when you're in that office, when you're grinding, when it does get lonely in that business of yours, when you're in debt, when you're solving those problems and sometimes you don't know, nobody can understand you, you're going through the most as a business leader, as a pioneer, as a dreamer. You're even on campus writing articles right now, writing your assignments, writing exams, studying, pushing your course, and pushing degree, lapo push MBA, push masters, honors, lapo ya pusha. You must always just have that mindset. We are capable, and we are going to be that generation that changes everything. We're not going to fall into these traps of seeing black failure after black failure after black failure and then end up thinking that we are not good enough. And remember also the media, they amplify these stories. That's why they will hush stories like Abu Steinhoff. It'll just blow up and just disappear within like a few days or a week or two. And then abantu bakhona wazi ukuthi ufeka mampela noma uye urkanti noma nana ngeke understand nje mara le abantu abamnyama phezukwayo emehlweni wenu urilebona or lona li good enough lona la pota lona nale di chances sometimes mara you mess them up lona vele le so lona vele you are not deserving of great things lona vele li greed lona vele nalipelo tse dimpe lona vele le pilo ngako tonkong. That's what they do. Ukuthi nina nsi lutho bonani ukuthi njani ziboneni ukuthi njani. That's what they do. That's what they do. I understand this programming. I work on television programming, radio programming of the mind, that indoctrination. Refuse. We have to break that cycle. We are doing things for purpose. We are here for the Lord's work. We are here for Abantu Bagiti. We are here to inspire future generations. We are here to be greater. Asiyi gebengu, siyihlakani, siphiwe, sinetalente, siyisizwe simnyama. We are more than capable. So izinto njengalezi zinga discourage umuntu omnyama. Don't let such stories discourage you. You are capable of greater things. And I just wanted to do this video to tell you that. I've just mentioned a few names of business leaders that are killing it. Future Nation Schools. How crazy is that? When you think of that couple, when you think of that family. Ubaba Ngasana was a leader at Telkom at the time when I joined Telkom from Esquel. Inspired me for many years, that man. His great wife, Dr. Judith Amin, amazing black woman, black business leader, very harsh and quiet, doing it in the education space. changing the mind of a black child, inspiring future generations, great business leaders. Mama Daphne Mashile Nkosi. Oh, excuse me, Dr. Mashile, oh, Doctor. Doctor, I repeat, Daphne Mashile Nkosi. Mining mogul, black lady, started from nothing. Listed her own first company with her business partners. Abo Prasipo Nkosi. They started Sizwe Coal back in the day. Nakaxoxa le story mama. Uvula amehlo kangaka waqhunzela kangaka amehlo akho, when she tells you ukuthi, you know, they wanted to ask for their first loan to start the Sizwe Coal many years ago, and Standard Bank said it'll give them 6 million. It'll fund them. I think with over 200 or 300 million if they raise only 6 million. And I think it was about 5 or 6 of them. When she tells you the story of how they had to hustle to organize and hustle that 6 million rands in a matter of a few weeks or few months. I think they had 3 months to raise it, or 6 months, or something less than that, like 6 weeks, I'm not sure, I don't remember. Story. Black entrepreneurs that have built themselves, that have built businesses, that have built organizations, that are just quiet, that don't even want to be spoken about. Black, great business leaders who are inspirational in our country. We don't need such stories. We don't need such stories. Black child, you're greater than that. Believe that you are, because there's a whole lot of other examples of black greatness that you should be emulating. So don't let such stories discourage you and you end up thinking we're not good enough. That's the reason why I did this video. I love you. All the best. I'll see you on the next one. Like, share, subscribe. Danko, let's meet in the comment section.